Hi everybody, it's Karen and Stephen again with Making the Point in Alger's Point. And because of the horrific news of this week, it seems to us that maybe it was a good idea to spend a little bit of time talking about the nature and philosophy behind free speech. And we had a little bit of a conversation before we turned the camera on just about, how is America different from the rest of the Western world regarding free speech? Do you want to just give because you knew a lot more about this than I did.
Yes. I'm not sure if Americans are aware that, well, first of all, we take our Bill of Rights, which includes the guarantee of free speech, we take it for granted. It's part of the Constitution. It's part of the Bill of Rights. I'm not sure if most Americans are aware that those same guarantees do not exist in most European countries. We have a Bill of Rights. Germany doesn't have a Bill of Rights. England doesn't have a Bill of Rights. Spain, Italy, they don't have a Bill of Rights. They have a constitution, but theirs are quite different from ours. What's guaranteed to us, for example, the right to bear arms, the Second Amendment, is not guaranteed to the Germans, not at all. And Germans, I think, are quite happy that they're not guaranteed that, and the same can be said of England. Here I'm making an assumption, but crime rates, etc., much lower, blah, blah, blah. So, the fact that we have the right to free speech in the First Amendment, what does that mean? It would be nice, I think, it would be nice to think that that was based on common sense. For example, you cannot shout fire in a crowded theater and get away with it. It is not guaranteed as a freedom that you have under the First Amendment. I think even most conservatives, the most conservative conservatives would agree that that makes sense. Again, I'd like to think that all of the Bill of Rights, but specifically this one, the freedom of speech, is based on, to an extent, on common sense. I find that important. I don't know if it is. That's my opinion.
Well, it's an interesting thing too, because we're talking about, there's so many debates right now about the horrible assassination of Charlie Kirk, who I think very few people would argue against the fact that he says some very inflammatory things or very provocative things, definitely, and whether or not he has the right to say those is absolutely clearly protected in the Bill of Rights in the United States, the American Bill of Rights. But as people are free to say what they want, they are not free from the consequences of what they say. And so when I think philosophically about the right to have free speech, and if there are any restrictions on that, like for instance, you said, you can't scream fire in a crowded theater, you can't threaten to kill somebody, you can't call for the assassination of somebody. I mean, you're not allowed to do these things. So there are restrictions on it. When I think about the philosophy that's associated with free speech, the principles of that, the thing that most concerns me is if there are restrictions, who makes those restrictions and why are those restrictions there? So, I mean, currently hate speech is not allowed, but who defines hate speech? And this is where we get into the tricky philosophical argument of free speech. Should it be absolutely free Or should there be restrictions? And if so, who gets to make what those restrictions are?
I think it was Thomas Jefferson, I'm not positive, but I think it was Thomas Jefferson that said, one of the founding fathers said, if we were angels, we wouldn't need laws. Very few of us are angels. We need laws. Laws are not communicated or written by angels, but by us human beings. And I think that
and it's not just us human beings. It's if we want to be in a more finite position. We're just talking about the United States here. It's not just human beings. It's who's in power.
Right.
That's who makes the rules.
And I think that if laws are made by human beings, no law is perfect. No law is going to be understood as perfect by left, right, whoever. I consider myself, or call myself, a hopeful pessimist. Emphasis on hopeful, emphasis on pessimist. My pessimism rises to the fore in days like this, when wondering, Charlie Kirk had the right, absolutely had the right to say what he said. Not everybody agreed with him. He had the right to say it. The guy who killed him did not have the right to kill him because he disagreed with him.
But it sets an interesting premise. You know, I read a statement from Charlemagne the God, who I think everybody knows who that. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
Very much.
I often think, because you always tell me that you're such a non-technical person, I'm always shocked when you know
I'm
some
not
pop culture thing.
I'm not a Luddite, but I do consider myself a Lud to some extent. I'll accept that, but not a Luddite.
But he said something absolutely spectacular today, which was that this is not about free speech. This is not about hate speech. This is not. This assassination is not about any of that. This assassination is 100% about gun control. It's about the existence of guns, and that's what causes gun violence and political violence and violence that ever, is involving a firearm. So that's something that we'll talk about at another date. I wear this shirt today. You may or may not know, I know lots of people in the neighborhood know, I'm originally from Canada. And so I come from a very different perspective than those who were born and raised in the United States. I make this my home, and I'm a dual citizen, but it is useful to have a dual perspective on things as well. So, much as I think that for me, I would consider a whole lot of things that Charlie Kirk said to be hate speech. And I would think that they, if restrictions are required, I think that he really, really verged on calling for violence against certain factions in the United States, certain populations. So, it's an iffy thing for me. I'm really torn over that. I really want to say that I am positively for free speech with no restrictions. But I also see what the results are of free speech with no restrictions, and how hate speech, how lies or how spin or propaganda can sway whole populations to thinking a certain way. So, it's a very slippery slope to me. And most importantly, I'm concerned about if there are restrictions, who's making those restrictions?
Yes, that to me is is so important. Maybe not the most important thing. Who decides what's free speech? To some extent, it's the Supreme Court. To some extent. Again, forgive the forgive the pessimist from popping out here, but he's going to pop out. To me, it is such a scary, terrifying time. Really, really is. And that's not meant to inflame anything. It's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. It is so scary a time that I don't have any answers. I just wonder where will we get to a point where, whether it's the Supreme Court or whoever, delivers a decision that enough Americans agree with concerning free speech that we can continue as a country to live civilly while having our free speech, but not expecting every newscast to include a political assassination. I will admit to a certain amount of pessimism on that.
It's hard not to be pessimistic about it. We've seen a lot of political violence in the last number of years, and we've seen a lot of gun violence, and those are two very different topics. But in terms of political violence, this is something that I think a lot of us are concerned about, and I think it's one of the reasons why people want to have conversations that are difficult, because it's like we don't know how to disagree anymore. And I don't think that we have the words or maybe even the temerity to be able to say, I disagree with you and here's why. And I want to understand why you feel the way that you do. Please explain it to me like I'm an 8-year-old. And people can't do it or won't do it.
If I may quote Archie Bunker, one of the great sages of our time.
Archie Bunker.
Archie Bunker.
All the Family was truly the best.
Yes, it was. It was. Norman Lear, God bless him. God bless him. In one episode, Archie's getting all upset about something, and Edith is sitting there calmly, as she knows how to do, and she says to Archie, you don't know how to get you don't know how to get angry without getting upset. You don't know how to get angry without getting upset. Archie looks like a dingbat. What the hell are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? To me, I love Edith. She was...
You're so upset, Archie.
Not Archie. Edith knew her stuff. She knew exactly what she was saying. Archie couldn't figure it out in a million years. We have to learn how to be able to listen to people like Charlie Kirk and others say things and get angry without getting upset. Upset meaning go out and buy a gun, go back and shoot Charlie Kirk and kill him. Free speech sounds really great, and it looks great on paper, it looks great in the Constitution, but I think that for very, very many people, if not most, but hopefully just a lot of people, it's a concept. It's a concept that has not sunk into our real being, sunk into us to the point where it directs the way we act. And until that happens, free speech is going to remain a concept, and it's not going to do us much good.
But I think we're really going to miss it if it goes away.
Yes, yeah. I'm not advocating any or thinking about any kind of severe restrictions on it, but again, I go back to if common sense doesn't play a part in this, I'm not sure how much the law or the fact that it's in the Constitution is going to make any difference. And then there's the thing. Do we have to change people's hearts? Do we have to change people's hearts? Do we have to change the way, and who are they? I don't know. The way people really feel about things in order to make changes. Concepts are fine and they won't make any difference unless people in their hearts finally wake up and say, I think that person is full of it. I think what he says is ridiculous. But I don't know who said this, I will defend his right to believe his foolishness.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If we don't get there, then I'm not sure what to say.
Well, and I'm just going to throw an additional thing into the soup here, which is that in the era of deep fakes and, artificial intelligence and the ability to make things seem real that are not, when we have, the ability to make something look like it happened when it didn't, or that someone said something that they never did, or that they did something that they never did. I mean, where is there a line to be drawn, and how do we draw it? How do we decide that? And it's this is uncharted territory for everybody. And I mean, I make no bones about the fact that I'm, wildly, I'm from Canada, for Christ's sake, wildly progressive. My politics are slightly to the left of the leftist left American progressives.
It is true.
It's absolutely true. Which, by the way, and at some point in time, when we get to talk a little bit more about who we are as people and where we come from, this guy is always saying he's a conservative. Yet, we disagree on precisely 3 things. And that's all.
And that's for another program.
That's for another program, for sure.
Tune in.
Tune in. But yeah, this is something I gotta tell you. I'm scared. I'm scared about what happens next. And we did a little bit of dooming last night. My husband and an old friend of mine, my cat, my 21-year-old cat, passed away yesterday. So we had a little wake for the cat, and Stephen Lovely brought some flowers for his grave today, which was wonderful. But in any case, part of what we were talking about as we were reminiscing over the years that this cat has been alive, we were talking about our lives and what had been happening and whatever. We came to, where was I going with all that? We came to understand, or to start talking about where we are now. And I said, I'm feeling like 2026 is going to be the worst year of all of our lives. That it's just going to be, you remember 2020, how we all called that was like the dumpster fire of years, because it sucked hard. But I think 2026 is gonna raise 2020 and put props under it. I really think it's just gonna suck so hard that we're gonna need a new name for suckage.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that these are part of the reasons why it is gonna feel like that, because we're now in what, and this is, we're moving beyond philosophy here a little bit into politics, but it sort of does, I mean, it relates back, of course, but it's beginning to feel to me a little bit like we're in a post-truth history. We don't have means by which we can make sure things are true. We don't have solid means by which people can rely on information to be accurate, or that we can trust what we hear, what we see, what we experience. I mean, all of this is apocalyptically not within our grasp. So I'm worried. You're worried. It's fucked up. It's really fucked up. So anyway, free speech, philosophically, I'm completely for it, unmitigated, but I'm absolutely terrified about what the ultimate results of that are going to be, given that there are some people for whom it is not sufficient to just say what they want to say, that they want to influence in a way that is not good-natured, that is not of... It's not to a positive effect for all.
I will jump in here and talk about something that Carolyn and I spoke about before this began, but in general terms, not specifics. The arc of history. Some believe that the arc of history leads to justice, freedom, whatever one wants to call it. One hopes that's true, but for those of us, and that's all of us, who have to live under that arc, it can be a hell of a ride. It can be a hell of a ride, and
it can take generations.
It can take generations, and those generations, a generation is normally considered 25, 30 years, so blah, blah, blah. Those generations are going to have to live with the consequences of free speech. And what wonderful song is just coming to mind. God, I can't think of it now. But nice words, nice prayers, nice intentions, that's not enough. That's not enough.
Lots of prayers.
Those will not necessarily get us over the arc to justice, liberty, or whatever it's called. And with regard to free speech, if we sit back and wait for that arc to happen and hope for the best and think our better angels will come through, God help us. God help us. We need more than that. Free speech has to be understood by everybody, not by everybody, understood in one particular way. If every group or camp interprets it in a different way, then there's nothing but chaos, and there is no guarantee that the democracy that we live in will survive, because we're so proud of the fact that we've been here 250 years. Big deal. Big deal. China's been around for 5,000 years. The Roman Empire for 1,200, maybe more than that years. Many more than that, 1,900 years. We are little babies in the woods. We are little babies in the woods, and we think that we're so great because we're Americans. Bullshit. Bullshit. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, babies in the woods, more like Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies. So, my point is that thank God we have the Second Amendment, or the First Amendment rather. Thank God we have the First Amendment, freedom of speech.
What? Need one for another day.
What do we do with that First Amendment? To me, that's the question.
And there it is, our take on a, depressing end of a week with bad things happening all around us, and lots and lots and lots of drama, and these big looming questions for not just Americans but for the human race, really. Anyway, we don't need to be dooming on y'all, but these are important things. So Please like and subscribe, and please, please, please give us some comments. Tell us how you feel about free speech. Tell us what you think has happened this week, and what it's about, and how you feel about it. We'll see you again. It's Karen and Stephen making the point.
Amen.